Welcome, everyone, to the Co-Creators Convergence first Thursday call for March 5th, 2015. This is your life partner, Noelle.
And this is your life partner, Bob Warner.
And we are delighted to have just an amazing guest tonight, Suzanne Strisower. And Suzanne has a beautiful website called yournextstepcoach.com. I love that because whenever we give a symposium or go to a symposium or learn something new, it's not about what you've just learned. It's what you're going to do with it and how do you get yourself leveraged, get yourself to take that next step, and what will that next step look like. So, Suzanne, I just think it's brilliant what you bring.
Well,
and so welcome, Suzanne. And Noelle, Bob, we are in Mobile, Alabama. And Suzanne, you are in, where are you right now?
I am in Northern California in a place called Oroville.
Oroville. And I understand that you're on a farm there and you have a new guest on the ranch there. You want to tell us about?
I have a new resident. I have a farm called Spirit Nature Farm, and I had a new baby llama born yesterday. And the funny thing about llamas is you can't tell when llamas are pregnant. And so, in theory, there's been a fence between mom and dad, and they have never been together. And so this is kind of a funny immaculate conception story. So all of a sudden, surprise of surprises, we were in town, we came home, and here's a little new little being running around.
Oh, that is great. That is wonderful. That's super. Well, right now, Suzanne, we're going to talk some more in just a moment. Right now, what I'd like to do is just tell people a little bit about the Co-Creators Convergence and how everyone can connect with us. And I'm going to apologize right off the bat because Bob and I just visited our grandchildren, and I think they were all sick, and I said, I'm not going to be in Houston, right down the road from them for 10 days and not see them. So we finally went over to see them. And
they gave us a gift.
They gave us a gift, and so now we're both sick. So our voices are a little shaky here. But this is the Co-Creators Convergence. We're a group of evolutionary souls, and we're dedicated to co-creating a new humanity inspired by such visionaries as Buckminster Fuller and Barbara Marx Hubbard, and really the pure source in each and every one of us. We recognize all of us as co-creators with spirit, and our intention is to deepen into the emerging consciousness and bring this understanding back home to our communities, our spiritual community, our homes, and we have 4 different ways that people participate. Bob, would you like to tell everyone about those?
You bet. So the 4 ways that our Co-Creators Convergence actually started as a result of gathering, as we do each summer at Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado. This year will be our 3rd gathering on July 9th through 12th. We'd love to have people join us there. And from that family, that spiritual connection and family that's developed there, we've created a Facebook page and have a lot of folks joining us there on Facebook 24/7. We also, just in the last couple of months, established a website, which is co-creatorsconvergence.com. And so we welcome you there. We have all of our archived for Thursday evening calls. And, of course, the 4th way that we get together is on these calls on the 1st and 3rd Thursday of every month. And we just are thrilled to have Suzanne with us this evening.
Thanks, Bob. And, we met Suzanne through one of our CCC members, Mark Porteous. Mm-hmm. And Mark and his wife, Renee, Mark has a book called Max Your Life, and he does a lot of trainings. He's had some wonderful teleseminars, and I participated as a listener because there's so many fantastic guests that he has. And Suzanne was really the guest that spoke to me about, it just felt like she was a gift at that time for me in my life. And we've had calls since then. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Suzanne before I hand over the talking stick to her, because I promised her that we're going to rely on her to do most of the talking tonight because we're both a little short on voice. but she is a radio host. She is an intuitive, and she uses her talents to help people and professionals in transitions that want to use her talent in more personally fulfilling ways. And she also helps people, and I think this is one of the things that I really liked about her offering, find their life purpose so they can feel confident that they're going in the right direction and on their path. And it's, in addition to that, this has always been a bugaboo for me, is living up to your true potential. I've always thought of Maslow's term of self-actualization. So having a coach that can help you experience and express the best of who and what they are and what they have to give. So another thing that's very unique about her is that she has a unique 3D, 4D, and 5D coaching method. So when we hand the talking stick over to Suzanne, I would like her to explain more about her different coaching methods. But tonight our topic that she's going to be sharing with us is about living multidimensionally. And so to have a multidimensional coach to help you live multidimensionally, because, you know, I can always say, yes, I know I'm a multidimensional being, and there's 7 different planes, and this is this plane, and that, but really to embody that and take it to the next level and to be able to share that with others, I just think that's the you know, just so juicy. I also want Suzanne to tell us about her radio show that she has, Living Well Talk Radio. And she has wonderful interviews there. And, of course, at the end of the hour, she's going to share with us a free gift that I'm sure that all of you don't want to miss. So with that, I'm going to welcome Suzanne. And, Suzanne, to start this off, I'm going to ask you to just tell us about 3 things in your life that you're exceptionally proud of, that you have embraced about yourself and your purpose on our planet.
What a cool way to start an interview, Noelle. I love that. So I think the first thing is, and it comes to my work and my life purpose, is I'm very connected with the divine and always have been this entire lifetime. And I have a little hummingbird who just came to visit me as I'm talking to you. And so being that connected, one of the things that's led me to do, and so one of those 3 things is that my actions are based on what I'm told to do from Spirit. I don't really act too much autonomously, except very powerfully from that place of that vision that I've been told to do. And so that's one thing. And then the second thing is that as a function of that vision, many, many years ago, I was told that I would create a light center. And so I did. I created a little tiny house that I taught out of for years and was guided to that house and stayed there for a number of years. And then I was led to my land, which is where I am now, which is where Spirit and Nature Farm was born. And again, I was guided to this land. And so for the last 15 years, I've been creating a sustainable farm, lived off the grid for 5 years, and creating a light center up here, and a demonstration project of how humanity and nature and the animal kingdom can all live in harmony and co-creatively together. And then that led me to, which let's just say is my third, one of those things I'm really proud of. I wanted to do a co-creative right livelihood project with my land. And so I asked my guide, Great Spirit, what do you want me to do? How are we going to do that? And so I was sitting in a bar, which seems like a sort of anti-spiritual place in one way, but I was sitting in a bar one night waiting for some friends. That was back in the day when I still drank. And all of a sudden this whole symbol set just tumbled in through my mind. I'm like, what am I seeing? So I just started frantically writing them down on a bar napkin. And that became a 21st century rune oracle to help people connect with the divine. And the way that it was set up, the grid of energy was set up, was that it was based on the elements, and then how each one of those elements had a different frequency, whether it was in nature, like the great elementals, earth, air, fire, and water, as like the ocean, fire, and so forth, and the divas and the growing things, those sprite spirits, the angels, and then our own ability to be co-creative. And so each one of the elements and in each one of the realms has a different way it is embodied. And so that's one of the sort of three things I'd say. And so that oracle is called the Runes of the Four Realms, and it was something that was channeled in kind of an alignment with that vision and, kind of the message that I've been living this lifetime.
That's awesome. I did see on your website about the runes, and I've never explored that before. So perhaps sometime that's something else for us to do together. So
we
right now,
can.
Yeah. So Suzanne, I just love all that you're about. 15 years with your Spirit and Nature Farm, and that is so inspiring because Bob and I have just got into. It's only been about about 5-7 years since we kind of woke up.
Yeah, maybe 5 or 7.
I think we were your typical asleep, going through the robot kind of life.
Americans doing what we're told to do.
Following all the rules and believing all the stuff on TV. So,
want to work, make money, save money, pay taxes.
Right. So, to be 15 years into coming in with a sustainable farm and lifestyle, kudos to you and to Northern California where you're located. So they're reaping the benefit of this and all those that you inspire from there. So.
Well, thanks, Noelle. It's funny because I talk a lot about life purpose. And so, when I think about you and Bob and what you just said about, it's been only 5 to 7 years. Well, the interesting thing is, though, that you were completely immersed in the life that you had before, and then you had a breakout moment. And that breakout moment has led you on this journey. And so what's great about that, though, is because you've had that breakout moment, you can now speak to both sides. So in one way, when I hear stories like that, I think, how cool is that these people have come from that side, and now they've come to the other side, and now they're bridge people, and now they really are helping people transition into a place of consciousness because they've done it. So
wow.
I celebrate people like you because how cool is that?
I thank you very much, Suzanne. In fact, it was interesting. We were listening to some recordings today hosted by Michael Dowd, and one of the presenters talked about, it was the last one, Craig Hamilton was his name?
Yeah.
Was talking about things that he's grateful for and just gave me a new perspective of it too. We work with Pachamama Alliance and a lot of other things and talk about leaving a better earth for the future generations, and he talked about his gratefulness for the future and commitment and responsibility to a future generation, but also spoke of the responsibility of all those that have gone before us that make it possible for us to be doing what we're doing today. And when I say we, I don't mean you and I and Noelle and all others that listen to these calls, that we even have the time to be able to study, to grow, to share, and to even have time to listen to these archived calls, because there are many people that are still on the treadmill and, just falling into bed after paying the bills to get up and do it again tomorrow. So it is a blessing, and thank you for helping us with our perspective as well.
Yeah, and so, that's one of the things that's wonderful is that, people don't, and this is one of the things I talk about when I talk with people about life purpose, is you don't have to know your purpose. You are living, everybody is living their purpose. But what they don't know is that if they're not conscious of their purpose or they're not actually doing what they think their purpose is, what happens is they're just in a state of becoming. And so their life purpose is living through them, but it's living through them in helping them get the tools that they need to be in service in the future in a more intentional way. So I tell people there's no wasted effort. You're never not living your purpose, even if you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's very comforting because, I always kind of envied Bob because he knew from a very early age he wanted to be a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And then his whole career, he got his pilot's license basically before he got his driver's license, and his whole career was in aviation, and 37 years. And I kind of thought, wow, he really knows what he wants to be. And I was kind of like, well, I like learning. I just kept going to school, ended up with a PhD, but really didn't use it. I just love to learn. And so now we're both kind of like feel like we're fumbling along the road, but as you say, there's no fumbling. We're all about, as someone once told me, we're always being prepared. The universe is always preparing us. And so, our purpose, we're being prepared and we're doing it. Sometimes it just doesn't have a label that fits in like an elevator speech or 3 words or something.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Anyway.
And if people's hearts are in the right places, they are, well, let's take that even further back. I don't know who said this, but it's true that everyone is doing the best that they can with what they have to work with, which is what I teach all my clients. In any given moment, you just ask yourself, are you doing the best that you can with what you have to work with?
Mm-hmm.
And if people can just still themselves and say yes, then they don't need to be doing anything different. If they say no, then there's some shift. But no matter what, their being is having them go through those experiences intentionally for some reason. They just don't know what they are yet.
Exactly. Well, Suzanne, I'd like to jump over now to your topic about living multidimensionally. And I see one of our listeners is welcome to Nama, and she's a multidimensional being from many realms. And but anyway, I'm just going to hand the talking stick to you because I'm kind of losing my voice here. And talk to us about what this is and does that how that folds in with the 3D, 4D, and 5D kind of coaching that you offer.
Okay. So when I talk about multidimensional, there's lots of different sort of schematics or ways, models that people use. And so I'm going to talk about a couple of them and how I weave them together. One is my own model, and actually Jim Self is very similar in his approach. But this is something that just came to me as a function of my being and my coaching. And then I wanted to expand it out further, and I wanted it to be not woo-woo. I wanted it to be based on some kind of science or some kind of something that made sense. And so I started exploring Barbara Hand-Clough and the alchemy of the 9 dimensions. So this is kind of going to be the weaving of those two things together. So when I work with clients, and what I'd like to propose to everybody on this call today and listening, is that we have what I divide up into, and this is just shorthand. I mean, when you're spiritual and when you're embodied, none of this matters. But on the way to that place, how do we get there, and how can we be more conscious and more clear, and make it easier on ourselves, make it so that we can be more empowered and more aligned there? And so what I've done is I've set it up that it's 3, 4, and 5D. And the reason for that is that sometimes it's important when people are lost or confused to kind of be able to just ground. Where in the world am I? What in the hell is going on? So that you can answer those questions, and then you know where you need to go to help align and ground yourself. So 3D is what I call our doing, and it's all the stuff of this dimension. So it's all the stuff of our conscious world. It's everything that we can see. It's all the stuff that we kind of embody in our daily lives. And 3D is the manifestation of everything that comes from 4 and 5D. But most of us spend most of our lives in 3D, and then what happens is we're kind of trapped in flatland, and we haven't figured out how to get out of flatland, and then how do we do that? So the first place that people go is into what I call 4D, and that's the knowing part. And one of the things that's really interesting is that our beings are always striving to self-actuate. They are always moving us in that direction if we'll only pay attention. So, for instance, when I have clients who I'm working with, a lot of times they'll have their chaos of their daily lives, their 3D chaos. And so the first thing that they want to do with me, they don't care about anything multidimensional. They just want to get their daily lives in order. So the first thing that happens is we do that. We do get the daily life in order. We do manage whatever their issues are. We do fix things. And then there's this little voice inside that says, if I could, if I really would love to, I wish I could And it's that voice that has never had the possibility of something to be able to happen to really happen. And that little voice, that inner calling is what I call 4D. It's your knowing. And this can connect up as well with our guides, our intentions, our inner calling, and it's where we start to manifest our visualizations and our visions for ourselves. It's also where we start to download or have things start to dream through us. So what that means is that all of a sudden when that little voice starts to speak and your intuition starts to awaken, then what happens is, how do we listen to that? How do I make sense of what I've just heard? And the natural inclination is to go 3D again and then to think it to death or feel it to death. I really feel blah, blah, blah about whatever, or that makes me think of, or, whatever. But the truth is, when you stay in 4D and you just ask to be guided, when you have some vision come in, and then you just ask the vision, okay, what do you mean? What do you want me to do with what you've just told me? How do you want me to be or embody that? Your being, your guides, wherever the information came, will come back to you, and then it'll help you take the next steps. So I encourage people to stay with the brilliance and the perfection of what comes through in those 4D messages, and to leave them 4D until there's enough clarity to bring it down into 3D. And the whole intent of this whole multidimensional system is actually for us to enhance our consciousness so we can expand comfortably multidimensionally. So it's a system that's allowing us to expand out almost like concentric circles around ourselves, to expand out like a bubble, and then also the wave comes back in and back to ourselves and back to home and back to 3D. Because at the end of the day, I feel like we're on this planet at this time to actually help bring the multidimensional embodiments in consciously so that this planet can truly be a co-creator's paradise. No accident that you guys would have named this show that, and no accident that that's your intention. So what I have people do is stay with their 4D beingness, just listening, just, okay, however the information just came in, and let it float through you in the way that it did. And I'm going to give you an example from a client, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples of things you can do with this yourself.
Great, great. I love examples, Suzanne. I love examples.
Okay. So I had a client, and we were doing a coaching session, and in that session, she said, oh, my God, she said, my body is starting to vibrate, and I'm seeing these silver blue orbs here in the room right before my eyes. And I said, great. I said, so what are you sensing from them? Just be with them. You don't have to do anything. Just be with them. What do they want to do with you? And so they said to her, and they started moving towards her. And she said, oh, my God, they're moving towards me. And I said, okay, do they feel safe? Does it feel comfortable? And she said, yeah. And I said, okay, let them have their way with you. Let those beings, let that energy have its way with you. And so what they wanted to do was they actually came inside of her. They came in through her crown chakra. They came in through her heart chakra. And they went and moved through her body. And I said, just be with that. Just let that happen. You don't have to make any sense of it. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to do anything with it. Just be with that experience. And so she did, and so I said, all you got to do is just tell me what's going on, and we'll just stay with whatever that energy is that it wants to do with you. And so some parts of her body started to heat up, other parts started to vibrate, and she just started to move with that energy. That energy came in through her and just started shifting things. And then all of a sudden when it was done, it just as gracefully as it came in, it left her body. And then she was left altered. So that was now we're actually going into 5D. It was kind of a 5D experience where she had energetic things that were not directly connected with her come and energetically shift who she was, and then she was left to make 4D sense of it, like, okay, what's this about really? What just happened here? And so then the work became, in the journey for that next part of, our time together, of so letting those orbs come and visit you at night, inviting them to come in at night, inviting them to come and be in your dreams, and to reveal and unfold themselves in this experience for her, so that she could then understand what that was. So she went through this process, and then all of a sudden one day she said, oh my God, I want to do Reiki. I have this really big need to do Reiki. I said, okay. And I said, go try it out. And so she could, when she started to do Reiki, she could feel the frequencies that she was running as the same frequencies that those orbs had put in her body. And
wow.
So what happens is, if we're available to listen and work with the energies, they will work with us.
Wow, that's fascinating. And Suzanne, when you said, so that was a 4D, but then when the orbs left, did you say that she did get to the 5D?
She did. She did.
Okay, so that was when she was altered. That was
right.
the indication of
so
5D.
The way 5D works is 5D is now where it's not your intuition, it's energy, and it's about being and beingness. And so 5D is just the embodiment of frequency and vibration. It's its own consciousness. So, for instance, a great 5D example is, and several of your people on this call should be able to do this because it's part of that frequency. There are people, and I'm one of them, and it's really interesting how this works, where you can stand, and all of a sudden you walk through an energetic barrier, and the next thing you know, it's just changed. The season has just changed. Yesterday it was winter, today it's spring. Or you walk through a field of energy and you say, oh, okay, and then you just felt the frequency, and then the next thing you know, oh, the weather is going to be wet and rainy for this next season. And that is what the Aborigines called connection with the dream time. And it's connection with the cosmos at a cosmic level. Now, how that happens, I have no idea. And I don't think it's really important to necessarily even know how that works. But the goal is to be at that level of connection with yourself and the universe and kind of in everything in between. And so we're being taught how to do that.
Wow. So this is what you offer when you do your coaching, is bringing them into awareness and helping with the interpretation and then ultimately the embodiment.
Exactly. And the experience of it. So let me give you another great example. And this is this story touches my heart to this day. So I had a woman client who came to me, and she was a high-powered mergers and acquisitions attorney. So by definition, her 3D job was very adversarial. And so she was very burned out with that, sick of it. She'd made plenty of money. She didn't care about money anymore. Now she wanted personal meaning and fulfillment. So I said to her, so what does that mean to you? And she said, I don't know. She said, I think I want to go paint. I want to just do watercolors. I said, great. Give yourself permission, 3D, go do watercolors. She came back to me and she said, not so much. I'm not interested in that. I don't want to do that. That's not where my energy lies. She said, but oh, by the way, I have a garden that I consider a sacred space outside in my backyard, and I talk to the angels. I said, really? I said, okay, 4D, what I want you to do is I want you to go in whatever way you connect with the angels. I want you to go talk to the angels, and I want you to ask them for guidance about your next steps. I want you to ask them to tell you what they want you to be doing next. Because I figure every crossroad is a great opportunity for next steps and an up-leveling of whatever that's going to be, or an expansion in some way of our beings. And so she came back to me at the next coaching session. She said, I'm really frustrated and I'm really pissed off. The angels came to me, but I can't make sense of what happened. I said, well, what happened? She said, well, they didn't show themselves, and she was very visual. They didn't show themselves. They gave me 5 words. I said, what is that? She said, bring in divine right order. And I said to her, I was flabbergasted. I said, oh, my God. I said, here's what that means. Because you can connect with the angels, and you have that connection, and you listen to the angels, and you work 3D in this realm. Your job is to bring in the vision of the angels to the parties you're dealing with.
Wow.
So you can see how profound that is. So she was in a position of influence and spoke with the angels, so nobody but her needed to know that she was actually doing her work in this dimension, 3D, based on the 4D counsel of the angels.
That's something.
And
wow.
nobody knew. It was just that was her work, and so instead of being burned out, she's like, okay, when do I get to go back to work? I said, whenever you want to. I said, all you got to do is to go and get the alignment set up so that you feel good at work. And then we looked at how perfect it was that over the years she had positioned herself for just this right opportunity and timing to make this shift, so that her new position was having the angels be her counsel in this dimension for what she needed to have happen amongst her clients.
Oh, so she actually, in the 3D world, she actually went back into,
right.
I mean, she continued her attorney jobbing.
Right, but from a 4D perspective.
Wow.
That's great. And, that's a really important message because, excuse me, there are many, many people I know that that feel that they're like a fish out of water, because they're feeling like, well, I can't talk to anybody at work about any of the spiritual things that I do or any of the, I don't like to use the term, but any of my woo-woo stuff,
Right.
So like I have to quarantine myself when I go to work. And the thing is that, they're, I think that's why we need community so much, so we can support each other to say, go get them. You're another, well, you called Bob and I bridge people earlier on this call, and I think they're very important bridge people to take that energy and message in, embrace it.
It totally. But what happens is, because people aren't used to or familiar, they don't know how to work with this. So let's spend a little more time with the 5D piece of this, because this is the important part in one way.
Great.
So because of everything that's happening and the shift of consciousness on the planet and us moving into the new age, one of the things that's happening is our own physicality is actually changing. And so, and that happens for different people in different ways. But what's happened for me is, I've actually watched my blood, the actual 3D makeup of my blood change. I've actually watched it flowing through my veins. I felt like I've been microchipped by spirit. I've many, 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 many different experiences. I've had all sorts of vibratory experiences just take place in my body that I had no part in, and I was not in a deep meditation. I just all of a sudden was sort of consumed in some, activity. And so one of the things, but my life is set up that I can do that and have it not be a discomfort. And because I'm a way shower, I know that I have to have those experiences in advance so that I can then, do the downloads. So, okay, an energetic 5D download, okay, what just happened now? And then I go through the same process, 4D, okay, where are we going with this? And then 3D, okay, that's how that needs to be with clients. But what happens, to your point, Noelle, is that for people who are conscious and evolving, and the pace is really quick, and sometimes people are getting headaches and nausea and blurred vision and all that business, feeling catatonic. All that's because these new frequencies are coming in. That's 5D. And so what needs to happen, and what I'm doing with a lot of people that I know that are 5D with me as well, is that support group is really important, because sometimes when that energy impacts the planet, everybody looks around and goes, what in the world just happened to us? And then everybody thinks, oh my God, we personalize it. It's like, oh my God, I must be going crazy today. But the truth is, if you reach out into your network and you see, oh my God, so-and-so's having the same kind of experience, so-and-so's having another experience, and they're all kind of in parallel, unique but parallel, then it's like, oh, okay, the planet is doing some cosmic shift today. And we're just sensitive enough to pick it up. So it is really important to have things like the Co-Creators Convergence, where people can connect 3, 4, and 5D so that they can share and that they can, energetically help themselves at one level. And, one of the that I do with my clients is I have a sort of a funny shorthand with them, and I say, well, that's really 3D. And as you can tell, we've only spent a half hour on the topic, but it doesn't take too much to understand. And so sometimes, so it's not about judging anymore. It's just about awareness, like, oh, that was really a 3D thing to say. Okay, well, let me see how I'd rather be 4D. Let me see what my 4D guidance would be. Or 5D, let me just sit with this energy and just see how this wants to transmute itself. And so it's about a system of helping us embody ourselves and our consciousness and our frequencies in ways that make our expansion really easy and natural and not hard.
That's really fascinating. And, this past July, Bob and I were gifted with going to Glastonbury with Nina Patrick leads a group called Sacred Travel Initiative. And quite a few of us from Co-Creators Convergence went to Glastonbury, Stonehenge, and others. And then we were met along the way by this other group of that were related to Barbara Marx Hubbard. And I'm thinking in particular of this one woman, her name was Lynn, and she was talking about changes that she and some of her friends are seeing in their blood.
Yep. That
like this bright blue something or other was in their cells or something was showing up that they didn't even know how to understand. But it was kind of, I was going like, wow, maybe that's another indication of the. I would say she's probably a 5D person, with all the experiences she shared. But one other thing I'm just going to wedge in here was that today Bob and I earlier were listening to this woman who's from Ireland, and she's basically dyslexic. She can't read or write. She's dictated some books and says she's been working with angels since she was a child.
Right.
She's now 52, and the angels have told her that she can now share with people about her experiences. And I'm going to tell you, her name was Lorna Byrne, Byrne, and she's written quite a few books. And she just came out last May. But she said the angels are saying that they're underemployed on this planet
at this time.
And I just love how you bring in the angelic realm in your work. And if I was going like, darn, I thought I was the separate being, my previous life here, my first 60 years or first 6 decades, thinking like I'm an independent being, and everything I do is because I do it, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking like, even though I was brought up Catholic and I knew I was told I had a guardian angel, I never thought to, have a conversation or invite them in. And so I just kind of giggled when I thought like, there's this, angels are unemployed. I'm going, really? Well, I've got some work for them to do. So I just throw that in there. I'm sorry.
Well, but no, that's so perfect because, exactly to the point, Noelle, because what's happened, it's funny, there was a chain letter that went around some long while ago, and I'm about ready to put it back out again. And it was, I don't even know if this is true, but it doesn't matter. There was a woman, the story goes like this. There was a woman from Germany who was visited by the angels, and the angels said that they wanted to come to Earth and visit and bring more of their presence down here. So they asked if she would reach out to 3 people and if she would share this process with them. And so the process went like this. That she would go and she would give the angels, there would be a piece of paper with a message on it of who the people were and where they lived. And then the people had to go and get a white candle, a white flower, write down the 3 or 4 things that they wanted, and then they had to write a list of 3 more people that they wanted to send the angels on to after the angels had been with you for 5 days. And so then what would happen is on the day that the appointed day that they were going to come to you, at 10:30 at night, you would open up your door to your house or wherever it is you live, the same way you would to any other guest, and you would invite the angels in. And then the angels would stay with you for 5 days. And then on the evening of the 5th day, you'd escort them to the front door just like they came in, and they would take 2 days off, and then they would go see the next people on your list.
Wow.
And,
I love it.
It was amazing. And so I did that, and I sent them to a bunch of friends. God only knows where they went from there. And so then, several people came back to me, and they said, I can't find 3 people who want the angels. And I'm like, oh, my God. I mean, I had a waiting list for the angels. So then I just said, okay, I just went to the angels directly, and I said, so what do you want me to do with this? Do you want me to honor that you only want us to send this out to 3 people? What do you want me to do here? And the angels were laughing hysterically. They looked at me, and they had all this love in their eyes, and they said, honey, we made that number 3 so that it wouldn't be overwhelming to you guys down here. But do you understand that we're all around, and all we want to do is help, and all you all have to do is ask, because you have free will, and we won't intervene and mess with you without your saying you want our help? And so one of the things that I tell my clients is I say, listen, and this is a lot what I do in my readings. I say, listen, the angels are here. They're telling me that they want you to contact them. Please contact them. They want to help you. And, so for everybody listening, this is obviously a message from the angels for y'all, that please contact them. They want to help you.
Wow, I love that. And that's what that's why I'm so happy to have Bob with me, because, when we get into something, I know the angels were very busy today because, we've completely changed our course, where we were driving, and everything worked out perfectly. Today it was just, I just felt the angelic presence. But when, we get one of those 3D situations, and I'll look at Bob, or he'll look at me and say, did you ask your angels for help?
Right.
Kind of like, this is a free will planet, people, so we got to, really invite them in. So I'm going like, yeah, come on.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if there's anything else you wanted to share with us on this topic of your living multidimensionally, or if you want to open it up for any discussion, or, but I would also like you to share with us, about your services. And I am curious, you mentioned about the readings that you do. How do you do your readings, and how do you, how does that work for you, Suzanne?
Well, okay, so again, I use a multidimensional approach. And so interestingly enough, I also do hypnotherapy with people. And so when I do hypnotherapy, in my heart of hearts, I want to have, I'm a steward for them to actually open up into all these different dimensions we've just talked about. So to the degree that they want to, let me just digress for a minute, Noelle, because this is just coming up right now, so let me just take this little tack for a minute. So sometimes when people do hypnotherapy with me, one of the things that I do with them is, like, let's just say 3D, you have this phobia. I had a woman who came to see me, she was afraid of flying. And so, she needed to have 4D and 5D that worked out. So 4D, she was afraid, this is in her subconscious, and so somewhere that's floating around, in some other place, which is the 5D part of that, she was terrified that she was going to die. So we had to go back and find out what that was for her 4D that was going to make it so she was going to die, but we also had to go back and let her being reconnect with who she is in this lifetime so that it could feel its own living vibration of life. So she could be connected to life to see that it wasn't so fragile, that she was very solid. And so one of the things that I'm doing with my work, and it's for me the most important work that I'm doing now, is when I'm doing these hypnotherapy sessions, sometimes I'll work. I had another client who came to me, and she had been raped 3 times in this lifetime. And so, statistically, that's not so easy to accomplish. I mean, if you've been really raped by different people several times, there's something going on. And so we went back into this woman's past lives, and as it turned out, one woman, one life she's a victim, next one she's a victor, next one back, a victim, next one back, a victor, blah, 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 all the way back to the beginning. And so when we got back to the beginning, what had happened was that she had it was some primitive times, the wheels were actually stone back in this lifetime, and she had been up on a ridge over her valley and was going to take something to, I can't remember where, and all of a sudden one of these stone wheels broke off of this wagon, went rolling down the hill into the village, and killed somebody else's son. And so the village was totally pissed off with her. Of course, it was intentional, and, she was this terrible person. So then they killed her son in response and retaliation for that. So that sent this energy in motion of victor, victim, etc. And so in this lifetime, the victim nature played itself out as rape. And, but the lives before, she'd pillage and this and that. So anyways, so then to heal that, we went back to that original life, and she and the villagers met because in hypnotherapy everything's omniscient, as we are when we are, clear in 4 and 5D. So we went back into that lifetime, and everybody got to see that it was a mistake, that this was not an intentional act. And so everyone got to forgive everybody. And then we came through, and with each life subsequently, back into this lifetime, we shifted that thread. So why is that important? Because a lot of work now that I'm doing with people is to shift and heal, resolve lineages of trouble, lineages of hurt and pain. And so when those lineages and threads are resolved, where does that reside? It resides in our memory, and it resides in the collective consciousness. So whenever that stuff is shifted, healed, resolved, whatever needs to happen, that shifts what's happening in the field. So when you ask me about readings, what happens is that it's important for me to just be in the field and let the field kind of bring through whatever it's going to bring through for that client. And sometimes I'll do a technique that Sonia Choquette had, which is called her sacred cube. And I actually really like the sacred cube because it's a visual, very visual image, in the 6 sides, and past, present, future, what your path, your grounding, and what supports you and what's in front of you is your future. And then there's a foundation, what is behind you that's pushing you forward, and then the top is your guidance. And so when I do those kinds of reading for people, what happens is I get to see exactly who they are in their lives. And so some clients one client I had just stunned me. She was in like the trees in Avatar, those enormous giant trees. Her little cube was in the base of one of those Avatar trees. And other people's cubes have been in black space. And so the readings really show where people, where their beings are kind of oriented, whether they're down here, up there, wherever in the world it is. And so it's, again, another way for people to kind of get a sense of and help acclimate to where they are and who they are.
Oh, that's fascinating. And, I'm not familiar with that technique by Sonia. Are you saying view, V-I-E-W, or cube? I'm not.
Sonia Choquette, a cube, C-U-B-E.
A C-U-B-E. Okay. All right. Very good. As I said, I wasn't familiar with that. But, wow, that's so when you deal with somebody, then you just kind of feel around for what feels like the right way to, what technique to use with them then.
Yeah, what I want to know is I want to understand what they're wanting or needing, and then I'll feel into that, and I'll feel whatever other energetic things come up, and then that'll guide me. And then, like when I do the hypnotherapy with people, until, like I said, I'm led by my guidance. So until I'm clear, until whatever is supposed to come through that makes me understand exactly how I'm supposed to hold the space for that person, we don't go. We'll keep talking until we get there. So when I do those sessions, I want to have like a half hour to just, download and tell me everything you know, because consciously, obviously wherever you are, you haven't gotten too consciously, because otherwise you would have taken care of it yourself. So then it's beyond your 3D grip and grasp. And so we have to go 4D and 5D to find wherever that stuff is. So I need to know everything that you know to then help you, and then all of a sudden something just comes in, and it happens pretty quickly.
Wow, that's fascinating. And how long have you had these gifts that you've been sharing these?
My whole life. I was born this way. So, 58 years. And, I was actually, when I was 7, I would go with my father, who was a doctor, and I would make grand rounds with him on Saturday and the Saturdays. And my goal in those times when I was with him was that my literal intention as a 7-year-old was to hand people a staff of light such that they could hold on to that staff, and it would bring them light and help them heal and move on from where they were, in whatever kind of condition they were that made them in a hospital bed. Wow. And I would stay with them until energetically I could see the light come back into their eyes and come back on. And I wouldn't leave until that happened. And then I go to the next patient.
And did your parents have any realization of your gift?
Well, they like to kid me, that as I was going through school, needless to say, I didn't have such a good time in school because it was so 3D. But they used to, tease me that I was doing intermediate basket weaving and crystal ball reading, and I said, you're not so far from the truth. And over time, though, they actually did see that I knew where I was going and what was going on the planet and what was going on for other people and for them. And so they would just kind of sit there and they'd have that look in their eyes like, she's different and she's special.
Wow, that's so... that's wonderful. Sometimes, people say, well, no, my father and my mother were both mystics, like Doreen Virtue.
Mm-hmm.
She has a wild story about her family life, and of course her work with the angels is pretty outstanding as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But well, Bob, do you have any thing here that you want to bring in? The one thing that we didn't do, we said we were going to do at the beginning of the hour, was to do was to have you do some centering for us. And I apologize, we didn't do that. But I'm wondering if maybe we could wrap up this closing with you bringing us in. First I want to tell people, we're going to go ahead and wrap up a little early tonight, just because we're both kind of under the weather. And but I want to make sure everyone knows how to contact you. And your website is yournextstepcoach.com, and that will connect you with Suzanne's wonderful services, articles she's written, her radio show, and blog. And, of course, please like her on Facebook, because we like her. We know that you guys will like her. And
another way, of course, is, Suzanne, we really appreciate how much you're present on the Co-Creators Convergence Facebook page as well. So folks can connect with you in that way as well. Excuse me.
And maybe we'll even get lucky enough to have you at our meet you at our Co-Creators Convergence this July.
I would love to do that. And when Mark first mentioned that to me, that was something that's kind of in my radar. So if that's supposed to be, it's definitely on my radar of things. So
fabulous.
Yeah.
And we hold it at Sunrise Ranch outside of Loveland, Colorado.
Yep, I would love to do that.
Great.
So here's the irony about us not doing that meditation at the beginning. I said to myself beforehand, I really would rather do it at the end because I want them to be able to have a multidimensional experience.
Oh, that is just perfect. Thank you, Angel.
So going in, I knew that the intention was that we were going to do something at the end, and then I just let it roll out however it was going to roll out.
Oh, that's absolutely outstanding.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Suzanne. So with that, I think we're going to close a little early tonight, and Suzanne, Bob, and I both want to thank you, and we're going to give it back to you to close this out with this beautiful call, which is being recorded and will be posted. And I know that there are a lot of people that are going to kick themselves for not being live on this call with us, but I'm going to be doing a mailing and send the link to everyone, because what you have shared with us tonight has just been so precious, and I just want more people to know about you and what your service is. And, we look forward to our future connection, because I think that Mark is, we just love Mark, and to us he's golden, and everyone he's brought into our life we feel the same way about. So
the feeling is mutual. So do we have, can we do 7 or 8 minutes, Noelle?
Absolutely.
Sure, you bet.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what I want to do with the group. If you've been listening and you've been enjoying this, now you guys are going to have a direct experience of that for yourselves. And so what I want to do is we're going to start 3D, and we're going to work our way through 4D and up into 5D, and then from that place we're going to come back down 4D and back into 3D. So you're going to kind of working up a scale, like a musical scale, and back down, only this is going to be the scale of consciousness as you live it for yourselves. So I'm going to take you on a guided visualization, and then we're just going to do that, and you'll have whatever experience you're going to have for yourself uniquely, and there's no expectation of anything. You just be with yourself in whatever way it arises for you, and just notice it. Just be an observer in your own process, and that's all you have to do, and it's all perfect. So I want you just to close your eyes and just take some deep breaths. You know, it's later in the day for all of us in the United States, and so wherever you are on the planet, and when you listen to this, just taking some deep breaths and just really settling into yourself. And as you breathe in, I actually want you to physically expand your body with your breath. So breathe in and fully fill up your lungs, fill up your abdomen, really feel your body taking in air and feeling that breath and the energy and the awareness of your breath traveling down through your legs and your knees and your calves and ankles and feet and down into the earth. And just letting that resonance, that awareness, there might be the feeling of like a hum or whatever experience, sensation you have. That's totally fine. It's part of the process. And just breathing through that oxygen and air through your arms and out through your fingers, hands and fingers. And then letting your breath go up through your neck, up into your head. And as you breathe up and you fill your skull with air, just feeling that oxygen and awareness inside of your skull, massaging your own brain tissue. And just letting yourself continue to breathe and feel yourself sinking into your new frequency, a much more relaxed, aware frequency inside of your body. And then as you let your breath flow through your body, you also open up with your inhale through the top of your head, letting that flow of energy download through the top of your head. And that light, whatever frequency is exactly perfect for you right now, just pouring with gravity through all of the internal parts of you and over your skin, surrounding you in this beautiful cocoon of light. Feeling yourself immersed in this light, inside and out, surrounded in light, and just feeling that glow, that divine light inside of you. And then feeling inside of that light, in the center of your being, there's an emanation. There's at the core, kind of like where your heart chakra is, between your heart chakra and your solar plexus. Feeling a seed of light, the spark of the being of the divine that's in you. Just letting your awareness gently tap into this place and letting that light get stronger. And feeling this frequency of the being that you are getting brighter and clearer. Opening up and expanding with each breath. And then feeling that resonance, that consciousness of the being that you are, this spark of light of the divine. Just going, traveling through your whole self, through your whole body, mind, and spirit. And with each breath, you just open up to it more and more. Letting yourself just feel with your own divine light. And feeling your own solidity of that light inside of the being that you are. Feeling your own I am, that connection, that presence. And really taking a moment to own that for yourself. Feeling the truth of the being that you are, just as light. And then letting your awareness feel and sense this divine light, this presence within you, this knowing of the being that you are, and getting a sense of your own self, and an awareness, curiosity of that being. And just enjoying getting to know you at this deep core level of being. And from this place of knowing about the embodiment of who you are, just inviting that energy and asking it, how would it like to be 3D? How would it like to embody? How would it like for you to express it 3D now? And just letting whatever images or thoughts or feelings, sensations come through in a way that you can understand it. Just breathing that energy and that awareness, that consciousness through your body. And then seeing yourself taking this wisdom and knowing out into the world in the way that you've just been guided. Visualize yourself actually taking those next steps out into your own world in whatever way you've been shown. And see yourself doing and embodying all those things. And just feeling that connection with the deepest part of your being and your awareness and action in this moment. And just acknowledging yourselves for the presence of this beingness that's with you, of the being that you are that's always with you, and knowing that you can return to this place anytime that you want. And that when we come back, you're going to feel refreshed, awake, and alert, and bring everything with you into full waking consciousness so that you can come back here and go from this place anytime you want. And taking a few more deep breaths, just feeling yourself centering back with your awareness, integrating back into your body, integrating into your consciousness, your 3D consciousness. And then when you get ready, just opening your eyes and coming back into full waking consciousness.
I don't know about you, Bob, but that was very yummy.
Indeed. Indeed. Thank you so much. Get my voice back here in three dimensions.
Yeah, I still feel my body vibrating.
Yeah. And so, the message here for people is none of this has to be hard. It's so simple.
Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you, Suzanne. And I do see that Mark Porteous has joined us on the line there. Would you like to say hello, Mark?
Yes.
I would.
Hi there.
Hi, guys. It's funny. We were on a 2-day vacation with my family today. We just spent the night at the Great Wolf Lodge last night, an indoor water park. Well, everybody else got snowed in. So I didn't even catch until into the meditation, but, man, it was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Oh, it was. I'm just, I don't know, Mark, we just drove from Houston to Mobile, Alabama, got into our room about 15 minutes before this call. And but I just, thank you, Suzanne. I just went to some other place. I don't know what location it was, but it felt really good.
Fantastic. And so, what I told everybody when we started, Noelle, is that if people want to take this further, what we just did, and they want to write down their experience, and then I'll do a 30-minute session with them to go and deepen that in whatever way they want to.
Fantastic.
That will be wonderful. So that's a wonderful gift that you're offering. And how would somebody contact you if they wanted to make that available? You're going to give everyone a free 30-minute.
All they got to do is they can email me, Suzanne@yournextstepcoach.com.
Okay, very good. And I'll put that in.
Listen to this, Paul, and have been through this experience of this visualization.
Yeah, it's just really been wonderful. I just feel so happy we've had this time together, and just feel really blessed.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.